सर एक और दिन क्लास मिस होगा। हाँ सर, संडे वाला।
एक और लेक्चर देखना पड़ेगा। अच्छा, रिवर प्रॉब्लम्स एंड अम्ब्रेला रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम्स, ये दोनों पहले पढ़ना था। पहले रिवर प्रॉब्लम्स
रिलेटिव मोशन से रिलेटेड है ना।
माने run it as a part of vector.
तो मैं 30 मिनट्स कर लिया आज का, 10 मिनट कर बाकी है।
Go. अच्छा, तो रिवर बोट प्रॉब्लम्स कैसे होगा?
हम लोग एक या तो किए थे शायद। झमेला हो क्या? झमेला कर रहा है वो। थोड़ा सा और डाल दीजिए।
अरे डाल तो दिए बट इसका सुनिए, आज दिन बोल गया वो सूख गया है अभी। हाँ
लग रहा है कितनी दिन से कोई है।
देखो, रिवर बोट प्रॉब्लम्स या फिर ओके, सपोज
स्माइल पर
वो थोड़ा ज्यादा अच्छा हो गया बोट का।
वाओ,
सपोज
कितने खुश थे ये।
अच्छा देखो, suppose if there is a river, the width of the river is t. ठीक है? Now, अब यहाँ से boat और sometimes swimmer also.
सर वो क्या है, ग्रास?
कौन सा?
सब ग्रास ऐसे नहीं बनाते, याद नहीं है।
नहीं, ये वाला एक बैंक है, उसका इंडिकेशन है। स्कीमेटिक डायग्राम ऑफ अ रिवर बैंक।
सर ये क्या क्या चीज है स्कीमेटिक डायग्राम में?
अरे ये एक नदी है, ये नदी का किनारा है। ये नदी का किनारा का एक साइड है और ये और एक साइड है। तो हम लोग यहाँ पे खड़े हैं और लाइक समवन इज स्विमिंग एंड वांट्स टू क्रॉस द रिवर, ठीक है? तो सपोज if that man starts swimming along this direction, let's say velocity of the swimmer, and the river is flowing along this direction. Okay, so this will be velocity of river. So to a man who is standing at this point, ठीक है? So what will be the velocity observed by this man? The velocity of the swimmer as observed by this man. When a man who is this is ground basically.
Velocity of river man.
The resultant of
Resultant basically isn't it? His own velocity and plus the velocity of the river itself. So that means, and how do we add vectors? This is how we add vectors, isn't it? So that means कि if the river water was still, there was no movement of river water, then the swimmer would have gone along this direction and he would have reached the opposite end at this point. Okay, but because of the river, he is drifting along the river and now he is moving along this direction, so ultimately he will reach at this point. Is it clear? Okay, so
I thought this to me before God can. ऐसा कोई समझ नहीं। Like not just these people, हम class 9 में आते हैं.
हो सकता है हम तो 9 में थोड़ा बहुत anyway तो swimmer or river माने is this situation clear? Okay, so that means there are two cases which mainly comes here. One is if that swimmer or माने boat whatever case it is, if he wants to cross the river in short, one is shortest time, another is shortest distance. Okay, shortest time and shortest distance. Now suppose let's say the velocity of the swimmer is like this at an angle theta with this bank. Okay. So what will be this velocity? Vs cos theta, and this one will be
Yes, I
Yes. sin theta. Okay. Now tell me individually what roles do these velocities play? I mean Vs cos theta, how is it helping the swimmer?
It is not in
See.
for time.
The swimmer is moving along this direction. So Vs sin theta is helping him to move towards the other bank of the river. There is no contribution of Vs cos theta to help him move towards the other bank, isn't it? And Vs cos theta is making him drift along this direction.
So he's covering more distance. It's not like really helping him.
Yeah, I mean this is not at all this is really not helping him, isn't it? This is what is creating a drift, isn't it? So that means if the swimmer had to cross the river in the shortest possible distance. Shortest possible distance means your resultant will be along this direction. Achha, let us talk about the shortest possible time. We will come to this later. Let us talk about the shortest possible
So
time.
Vs cos theta is helping him to drift along. So you know that's meaning
Shortest time means what? Shortest time of
perpendicular.
how? Shortest time means what? Shortest time taken
Covering
for?
shortest distance, then it will be shortest.
No, shortest time does not mean that he has to cover the shortest distance. Shortest time means he will move to the other bank of the river in the shortest possible time. Now, from this figure, tell me which velocity is helping him to move towards the other bank. Vs sin theta. Now, how to maximize that velocity?
It's
Theta
like
goes to
theta is
That means sin theta's value has to be maximum, isn't it? When will the value of sin theta be maximum? Sin 90. That means if theta is 90 degree. In other words, I can say that if he starts moving exactly in this direction, that means he is instead of this one, if the velocity of the swimmer is like this, then his total energy, Vs is basically is a result of his maximum potential, isn't it? He is producing this velocity by his own energy, energy of the body. But he does not have, this is the maximum velocity with which he can swim. Okay, the only thing left for him to control is basically sin theta. So he can change the direction. Vs is maximum. So that means he has to choose a particular direction in which if he swims, the velocity will be maximum towards the other bank. And he can, if the velocity towards the other bank is maximum, that means he can reach the other bank in the shortest possible time. Okay, so this will be Vs, but simultaneously Vs cos theta will also be there. Now if he swims in this direction, there won't be any Vs cos theta, isn't it? Because theta will be 90 degree, and what is the value of cos 90? 0. Okay, so this is but I have considered here only the velocity of the swimmer. But there will be the velocity of river also.
It will be there.
It will be there because river water तो उतना भी अच्छा नहीं है ना. वो तो पूरा रेट खड़ा है उसे. Wind is blowing. There will be velocity of river also. So if there, let's consider that the velocity of river is along this direction. So जैसे पहले हुआ था कि velocity of river was along this direction means he will be moving ultimately in this direction. Okay. Now if he is moving, if the velocity of the swimmer, if his own velocity is exactly directed towards the opposite bank, and let's say there is a velocity of river also, so that means he is going to move along this direction. Okay, so that means ultimately he will move to this point, isn't it? He wanted to move exactly to the opposite point, but you will see that when he is reaching the other bank, he has come to this point. Okay, so this distance is called drift. How much drift will be there? Means basically how much, because of the velocity of the river, how much he has moved towards, along the river.
You are calculating shortest time.
Yes, so that means if we want to calculate the shortest time, what will be the value? Time equals to what? Distance by speed. Now what is the distance? Total distance for this part is d. So d by, and what will be the speed? Speed will be directly vs. Isn't it? And we will take the speed of only the speed which is responsible for making him move towards the opposite bank. Is it okay? Acha, suppose come to this part first. From this point, tell me, is this part okay? So from here, tell me what is the time taken for the man to move to the other bank? From this point.
Covers that distance in a certain amount of time. I mean, because velocity of the river added to his own velocity.
Time taken for this situation, calculate the time taken for the man to move to the other bank.
D plus the drift.
So sir,
Time,
you will
time.
be calculating the
Wait.
right time.
Yeah, you can calculate.
With
But
river
tell me.
velocity, with river velocity or without?
No, from this situation, I only want the time which he takes to move to the other bank.
With
Yeah, with river. The river
So
velocity is
distance
also
plus
active.
drift by the velocity
Yeah,
of river
that's
plus
the
velocity
velocity
of the swimmer.
Okay, tell me. Telling them.
Distance
Distance
plus
plus the
drift.
drift.
T equals to distance.
Plus
What's the distance?
The width of the river.
That means D. Okay.
Yeah, plus the drift.
Plus drift.
Ah.
Yes, sir.
Which one is drift here?
Sir, मतलब
To
perpendicular
elongate his
this
हाँ,
part.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Acha, drift.
How is it that but it's this part, right?
तो वही तो बोल रहे हैं उसको वो अगर थीटा वाला जो दिया है इसको elongate करेंगे तो
हाँ,
जो
हाँ।
मेडिकल लाइन से जो
See, the easiest way to do is, which time we want to calculate?
shortest
Shortest time. Shortest time for the man to
swimmer
move to the
opposite
opposite bank. So when we are calculating time, distance is definitely the distance he has to cover, means he has to move towards the opposite bank. So let's say it is d. So divided by which velocity will be easier to take? By which way, if we do the sum, it will be easier. Vs sin theta. Take only the velocity which is responsible for making him move towards the other bank. Because velocity of the river, then his own component along this, Vs cos theta. All these are, we won't consider them. Because they are not at all helping the swimmer to move towards the other bank. The only velocity responsible for making him move towards the other bank is basically Vs sin theta.
The shortest time is d by Vs sin theta.
D by Vs sin theta. Okay. Or you can also write it like this. Suppose, let's say this is A, B and C. Okay. This part they have understood. We can also write it as the distance AB divided by velocity of the swimmer. Or mathematically this will also be equal to AC by magnitude of the result. Just tell me if you understand this or not. All of them are going to give you the same time. Because actually this is what is happening, isn't it?
How will we write AC instead of AB?
Why not? AC means because see, ultimately if a person is observing this swimmer, then which velocity will he observe? Well, this one, isn't it? I mean,
He will see the velocity, the resultant velocity. Like, didn't you just tell us to calculate the one which takes the shortest time? So is it
all these are going to take the shortest time.
that
Oh, for this one, no,
Shortest time.
I am not talking about the shortest time here. This is a general case. Shortest time, when I was talking about shortest time, I am coming to the shortest time here. This is a general case now. Because I have not taken the shortest time wala condition.
So this is only to calculate the time he's
This
taking.
is, yeah. Shortest time will be if this Vs sin
इतना
theta.
देरी से shortest time क्यों कर रहे थे?
Shortest time तो वो वाला हो गया था. माने d by I took that Vs.
हाँ.
Now I am doing
Isn't it d by ds sin theta?
why sin theta? The sin theta का value तो 1 आएगा if we have to move in the shortest time. See, this is a general case. If he has, this is not a
Then the
shortest time wala
shortest
case. As I am
time-
telling it once more. See, this is not the shortest time wala case. This is a general case. He can, theta is any arbitrary angle. Okay, in any direction he can swing. Whatever may be the value of theta, all these are valid. Now, if we try to impose the condition that he has to move towards the other bank in the shortest possible time, then in that case we have to time will be minimum, so the denominator has to be maximum. Means basically, or in other words, think it. Don't go by mathematics. Go by terms of physics. Like if he wants to cross in shortest possible time, that means the velocity with which he is moving towards the other bank has to be maximum. And when is that possible? When his entire energy is being utilized for moving towards the other bank, isn't it?
नहीं समझ रहा. हाँ, से नहीं समझ रहा.
See, this one is moving, the swimmer is moving towards the other bank. Okay, now which velocity is responsible for making him move towards the other bank?
Yes, sin theta.
Vs sin theta. Now, if he wants to, his target is to move in the shortest possible time. So, which one should increase? Vs cos theta or Vs sin theta?
Sin theta.
Acha, before that, tell me, is Vr going to anyhow affect the time? The velocity of the river? How?
VR is going to affect the velocity of the resultant velocity. It won't affect the
The river, see, we do not have any target to reach exactly to the opposite point. When we are talking in terms of shortest time, usually you are thinking about that you have to reach this point. It's not that he has to reach exactly this point. He has to reach, if he wants to reach exactly this point, that will be the shortest distance wala case. If he has to reach, his only target is to reach the other bank of the river in the shortest possible time. Wherever he reaches, he is not bothered about whether he is reaching exactly the opposite point or wherever he can reach. That is not our consideration.
just said that you
Okay, I am telling it once more.
simply
ठीक है, मैं बहुत किसी को
How this expression is coming, this one. dt is equal to basically this.
अच्छा. Let us अच्छा ठीक है, पहले ये बात करते हैं. Suppose if a person is swimming along this direction, yes, velocity of the swimmer. What are the two components? One is
Vs cos theta, Vs sin theta.
Vs cos theta, one is Vs
Sin theta.
sin theta. Okay. Till now we have not considered any velocity of river. For the timing first assume that river is एकदम stable. Now, what is the time taken if the distance is d? What is the time taken for him to move towards the other bank of the river?
d by Vs sin theta.
D by
Vs sin theta.
or
That's the time taken, right?
time taken. Yes. let's say this distance is x. Okay. What is the velocity along this direction? Yes. What is this distance? Is it okay? So, see, this is the utilization of that component wala concept. Means, if we were not doing with vectors, forget about the component and all things. Simply, what will you observe? The person is moving along this direction. That is what is Vs. So, what from our lower class concept, what are we going to do? If we want to calculate the time taken, time equals to distance by speed. So, what is the total distance travel? Let's say this is AC. So, what are we going to do? AC by Vs. Okay. This is what is the time taken, isn't it? Now, since we have learned about vectors, we can do it in a much more easier, it's much easier way. How? We can see that the two components are basically Vs, this one, Vs cos theta and Vs sin theta. So, if I write, the time is same. The time taken will be actually this. Okay. In this time, vertically or rather along the width of the river, how much distance will he move? D. Isn't it? He will take the same time, isn't it? And what is the velocity along this one? Vs sin theta. So this one will be, that means these two times are equal. Also, this is equal to x by Vs cos theta. Just try to understand this. See if you can understand.
Why are those two equal? B or AC? D by Vs sin theta or AC by Vs? Why are those two equal?
What is actually happening is this. Okay. See, this is the utilization of component phase. Means, what we are doing, we are breaking up this problem into two parts. The actual velocity is definitely Vs, but we are breaking up this problem into two parts. One is happening along this direction, another is happening along this direction. So suppose if it takes, this is right, isn't it? And definitely if we were in our lower classes, we would have used this.
How is D equal to AC?
D is never equal to AC, but D by S is equal to, we are equating the time, not the distances.
And S is
D means what? Distance by speed. This is the basic formula. No, इतना भी ऐसे कुछ नहीं पता तुम लोगों को. This time is what? Distance by speed तो. Speed is what? Distance by time. Speed equals to distance by time. ठीक है? अच्छा no sorry. I should have written it as small d. यहाँ पर हमने small d. ठीक है?
ये 8 बजे कौन पूजा करता है?
8 बजे पूजा करने से अच्छा होता है. मोटिवेटेड. मोटिवेशन मिल गया बहुत बड़ा. तो बेसिकली क्या हो रहा है देखो, यहाँ पे जो टोटल प्रॉब्लम है, we are dividing it into two parts which are operating simultaneously. पूजा का क्वालिटी हो रहा है. पूजा नाम अच्छे होता था. अच्छा देखो क्या हो रहा है टोटल कि यहाँ पे ये वाला तो एक्चुअली हो रहा है, ठीक है. अब इसका जब हम माने इसका डिस्टेंस बाय स्पीड, व्हाट इज द डिस्टेंस कवर्ड? AC. व्हाट इज द स्पीड? Yes. Okay. अब इसी टाइम में हाउ मच इट इज मूविंग अलोंग दिस डायरेक्शन, तो सेम टाइम लगेगा ना. माने इस चीज को हम लोगों ने दो पार्ट्स में ब्रेक किया है. वन इज अलोंग दिस डायरेक्शन, अनदर इज अलोंग दिस डायरेक्शन. ठीक है. अब ये वाला डायरेक्शन में बट इट इज टेकिंग द सेम टाइम. ये वाला direction में what is the distance covered?
D.
D, isn't it? So distance covered is D, and with what velocity is it moving?
Yes, sin theta.
तो इसलिए this is the time taken. ठीक है? And in that same time, he has covered a distance this much along the river. That is basically x. Okay. So that is why. What is the distance? X. What is the velocity? Yes, cos theta. That means इसका भी same time में यही होगा. एक problem निकालो.
Sir, NCERT की प्रॉब्लम दी हुई है.
NCERT क्यों? हर जगह ये सब problem है.
Sir का problem.
अच्छा ठीक है.
सर आप रुक जाइए पूरा लिखने दीजिए.
हाँ ये वाला करो.
और शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस
बोलेंगे shortest distance बाद में. वो और भी easy है.
सर अभी क्या कर रहे हैं?
अभी
Copy
अपना सोनी कुछ करना चाहते हैं.
सर अब अच्छा लग रहा है, बेल बजना बंद.
कि हम लोग को ऐसे मोटिवेशन है. See, as I did not say that.
क्या
I did not say that. तो अभी जब बोलना सुहानी का जो मन करे वो डायरेक्ट शिवम का याद आया. शिवम को अच्छा वो लाइक उसको तो कभी नहीं मिलेगा. ये भी एक पर्सन. टोटल टाइम लेके तो दोनों का एडिशन नहीं होना चाहिए. मतलब वो AC
दो इवेंट्स तो simultaneously हो रहा है. Like suppose if someone is moving along this direction.
तो वो ऐसे भी जा रहा है ऐसे भी जा रहा है.
That is what is we are talking about vectors, isn't it?
हाँ.
माने like if let's say this is 2, 3, that means along the x-axis he has moved 2 units, along the y-axis he has moved 2 units. And how are we going to write this displacement vector? 2y plus 3j, isn't it?
Yeah.
But actually तो ये तो इस direction में move कर रहा है. But if we talk about the other माने two separate components, then along x-axis he has moved basically 2 meters, and along y-axis he has
सर
moved 3
पर
meters.
आप एक बात बताइए, why is it necessary to calculate the time?
नहीं ये तो problem में देगा
ये
question में.
प्रॉब्लम भी जल्दी हो रहा
ये तो
है.
माने
मेरे को लगा ना तुम कोई इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन बता रही हो. सच्ची.
नहीं यहाँ पे माने वेक्टर का
तो क्लास 9 से ये सब करता है जानी और तुमको अब मेरा टाइम है क्वेश्चन पूछने का. कोई देता ही नहीं है आंसर.
यहाँ पे क्या होगा माने for navigation purposes यहाँ पे actual real time there will be
What if we don't want to know navigation? Why are we doing this?
we are being introduced to the different fields ना with 11 12 में पूरा after 12 11 माने you will be able to focus on only what you want to do. अब if you don't want to do navigation मत करना. कौन पूछती है?
Change the whole thing. After 9 10 you will decide what you want to do.
हाँ अभी science you wanted to basically eliminate history geography. So that option you have been Salman, you have already successful in that field. इतना तक समझ में आया या कुछ समझ में
तो
नहीं
ये
आया?
x पर minus cos सीधा हमको नहीं समझना.
देखो
मतलब वो डिस्टेंस है और वो इस
ये
डायरेक्शन में
cos
जा रहा है इसके लिए अब इसके छोड़ दीजिए.
नहीं बिना समझे मत. तो अगर ये ऐसे इस डायरेक्शन में जाएगा तो बेसिकली ये वाला डायरेक्शन और ये वाला डायरेक्शन तो हम लोग को रिजॉल्व करके कर रहे हैं ना. I mean, these what are these basically components. This is the resultant, isn't it? So once we are breaking a particular vector into its two components, now we can work with the components separately.
We can.
isn't it? And once we have the components separately,
अच्छा अगर ऐसा हम लोग को differently काम करना है तो why don't we calculate root over d square plus?
हाँ वो तो कैलकुलेट डेफिनेटली नहीं करेंगे. देखो
तो आप ऐसे ही कर दीजिए.
अरे ये वाला तो हम दिखा रहे हैं बेसिकली सेम. डेफिनेटली इन द प्रॉब्लम we are going to use only this part. We are not going to use this one or this one. अच्छा एक प्रॉब्लम करो.
I still don't understand why you wrote that, but
Let's say the width of the river is 500 meter. Okay. Person is moving with the velocity 10 meter per second. The direction, let's say 60 degree. Okay, continue. Calculate the time. अब river का कोई velocity नहीं है अभी तक. Okay, river is एकदम चुपचाप. तो calculate the time taken by the man to move towards the
Sir, रिवर
opposite
50 कर
line.
दीजिएगा.
कौन सा 50 मीटर. अच्छा ठीक है ऐसे कुछ.
बेचारा उससे
तो कैलकुलेटर यूज करो.
500 का प्रॉब्लम क्या था वैसे? ओह
50 मीटर ठीक है. रिवर इज स्विमिंग पूल दे.
10 seconds.
हाउ आर यू डूइंग?
By first
Wow.
we'll resolve it time theta right and then after resolve it.
So this part is basically 10
Fine.
sin 30 which is 5, isn't it? 5 meter per second. And this part is 5
10 root 3 by 5 root 3.
5 root 3 meter per second. Is it okay? So which velocity is responsible for taking him towards the other bank?
10
Five.
5 meter per
means 5
second.
meter per second. So what will be the time taken?
10
Distance will
seconds.
be 5 meter. By speed will be 5 meter per second. That means 10 seconds. ठीक है? अच्छा. In this 10 seconds time, but do you think he will reach here?
Yes, if there is no velocity of the river, then
No. He is going to reach at this point X. A person who is standing here and observing the man, where will he see him? At Y or X? After 10 seconds? X तो. So that means there is a drift because of this velocity. What is the contribution of this velocity? This velocity is only dragging him along the river.
Without the river having any
Huh,
velocity.
because he is having a component along this direction, isn't it? This velocity is actually helping him move towards
But time
along the
taken is
river.
still 10 seconds.
Time taken will be कितना होगा बोलो? अच्छा. In this 10 seconds time, how much has he drifted?
सर ड्रिफ्ट तो तब होता है जब वो मूव करता है ओरिजिनली और वाटर की स्पीड की वजह से.
वाटर छोड़ो अभी. वाटर हम लिए ही नहीं. I will come to water after this. Water river का velocity एकदम सोचो कि river is still. But if he is having a velocity along this direction,
If the river is इसका कोई velocity नहीं है then why is it moving like that?
He is moving in that
he is
direction.
moving. No, this is already assumed that he is moving along a 30 degree along the bank. Okay, with the bank.
50 root 3.
Drift will be, time will be 10 into
Because
velocity that was
Yes.
5 root 3. So 50 root 3. So this one will be 50 root 3, isn't it?
तो नहीं समझ रहा है.
इस डायरेक्शन में किस लिए जा रहा है वो? मैं डोंट से कि वो पागल है. उसका देखो अल्टीमेटली ये इस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है. अब वो वाला हम लोगों ने माने दो कंपोनेंट में हम वी आर डीलिंग विद इट इनटू सेपरेट कंपोनेंट्स. ठीक है कि इस डायरेक्शन में उसका वेलोसिटी इज 5 मीटर पर वेलोसिटी का रिजोल्यूशन इज क्लियर. ओके तो ये अगर इस डायरेक्शन में जाएगा तो हाउ मच इज इट ड्रिफ्टिंग अलोंग द रिवर? देखो
10 meter.
देखो देखो ये कोई बहुत बदमाश लग रहा है. ठीक है अब इसका अगर प्लान अगर के खींचोगे along this direction तो उसका तो पूरा ऐसे ही चलाएगा, ठीक है। आई कैन से कि ओवरऑल देयर इज अ डिस्प्लेसमेंट इन दिस डायरेक्शन एज वेल एज दिस डायरेक्शन। क्यों नहीं?
अच्छा ओके वैसे
ऐसे अगर खींचे हो, isn't it? अगर इसको इस डायरेक्शन में खींचे हो तो पूरा ऐसे चलाएगा ना, माने आफ्टर सम टाइम इसका कहानी यहाँ पे है। नहीं, इसका माने ये बहुत फ्लेक्सिबल है।
एक आँख भी उड़ गया।
क्यों भी हो, माने
ये वो रोड है
अच्छा ब्लॉक है, इस ब्लॉक को अगर 10 न्यूटन फोर्स से तुम इस डायरेक्शन में ला रहे हो तो इसका तो इस डायरेक्शन में भी डिस्प्लेसमेंट हो रहा है, इस डायरेक्शन में भी डिस्प्लेसमेंट हो रहा है। माने आफ्टर लेट्स से 10 सेकंड्स द ब्लॉक इज एट दिस पॉइंट। तो इफ आई मेजर, अगर हम लोगों ने x एक्सिस और y एक्सिस बैठा है तो अलोंग x एक्सिस कितना मूव किया है? This part isn't it? If this is L, so it will be L cos theta will be along x axis,
वो अच्छा
और
बेस।
along y axis L sin theta मूव किया है
हाँ
distance wise,
हाँ
isn't it? Similarly, if you are talking about velocity, अब बोलो इससे रबर है। If you are
So just one second. So how is this 5√3 coming?
5√3 is 10 cos 30,
वो cos था, अच्छा।
बोल रहा है?
सिर्फ
अभी
50 रुपए अभी नहीं समझ
देखो, इसका दो कंपोनेंट समझ रहा है,
हाँ
तो दैट मींस क्या, इसका दोनों साइमल्टेनियसली इसका अगर वेलोसिटी काम करेगा तो ये तो इस डायरेक्शन में जाएगा, माने जैसे कंपोनेंट और रिजल्टेंट, ये वाला जो पहले समझाए थे ना, माने एक रिजल्टेंट है, दिस इज द रिजल्टेंट, उसको हम लोग दो अलग-अलग कंपोनेंट लेके काम कर सकते हैं, माने फॉर आवर ओन कन्वीनियंस, ठीक है। तो अभी क्या होगा, ये दोनों कंपोनेंट्स में स्प्लिट करके फायदा क्या है कि this velocity I can tell for this movement along this direction, और this velocity will only be dealing with this वाला movement, ठीक है। तो उसको ड्रिफ्ट कौन सा वेलोसिटी के लिए हो रहा है, 5 के लिए या 5.3 के लिए,
5
माने इस डायरेक्शन में क्यों जा रहा है वो,
क्योंकि
ये
वो-
वाला वेलोसिटी के लिए, isn't it? तो अभी टोटल रिवर को क्रॉस करने के लिए कितना टाइम लगा है?
10 seconds।
That we have already found out from this first part, 10 seconds लगा है। अब उस 10 seconds में ही उसको स्कोप मिल रहा है उस डायरेक्शन में ड्रिफ्ट करने में, isn't it? अब उस डायरेक्शन में उसका वेलोसिटी क्या है? The same thing will be utilized in projectile motion also. So इसको बहुत अच्छे से समझो।
हम लोग, अगर हम लोग को पहले से ही पता है कि he is not going to move in a straight line, he is going to move in the opposite, then why did you do d by v sin theta?
क्योंकि d means यहाँ पे हम लोग इस वाला डिस्टेंस लिए हैं, वही हम कराएंगे। देखो एक बार करो, अच्छा तुम रुको एक बार पूरा करने दो, उसके बाद आस्किंग क्वेश्चन। ये 53 अभी समझ में आया कि 10 सेकंड्स में उसको स्कोप मिल रहा है ड्रिफ्ट करने का, तो टोटल कितना डिस्टेंस ड्रिफ्ट करेगा, इस साइड में कितना जाएगा,
50
टाइम इनटू स्पीड में 10 इनटू 5/3 तो 50√3 मीटर, ठीक है। बट अल्टीमेटली हाउ मच इज द एक्चुअल डिस्टेंस ही इज कवरिंग? 5 बेसिकली दिस पार्ट वाज कितना 50, तो कैलकुलेट दिस डिस्टेंस
2500 plus 2500 to 3.
कैलकुलेटर में, तो कैलकुलेटर है इसकी, कैलकुलेटर नहीं है
10 to 99 25,000 plus 2,500 आएगा।
नो आई वांट द एग्जैक्ट थिंग।
करना है
अरे ये वाला पाइथागोरस थ्योरम से दिस साइड इज 50√3, दिस साइड इज 50, तो ये वाला डिस्टेंस कितना होगा, चलो जल्दी से
100
श्योर,
yes हाँ सर
ठीक है।
अरे वो d square plus x square का होल स्क्वायर तो उससे 100 आया
2500 something 7500
plus 2000
हाँ
अरे पाइथागोरस थ्योरम यूज कर देखना, कोसा स्क्वायर प्लस 3 होचे आगे। तुम लोग का मन खराब है क्या, मन खराब है,
नहीं
उदास है,
नहीं
खराब
सर सबका एक साथ होता है सर
नहीं, सब बाहर, बाकी दोस्त सब बाहर घूमने गए, हम लोग ऐसे क्लास करने वैसे
नहीं एकदम भी मन खराब नहीं है
बल्कि करता है
अच्छा मैं खुशी है तब यू आर वेलोसिटी प्रॉब्लम।
नहीं मतलब ऐसे
अच्छा देखो ये वाला 100 है, तो अगर ये सेम प्रॉब्लम तुम्हें क्लास 8 में दिया जाता तो कैसे करते? डेफिनेटली आफ्टर यू वर गिवन दिस प्रॉब्लम कि इस डायरेक्शन में, अब डायरेक्शन को मारो गोली, इस डायरेक्शन में 10 माने बेसिकली यू ओनली वांटेड कि स्पीड पता चलना चाहिए, टाइम निकालने बोलेगा तो वी ओनली वांट द स्पीड एंड द डिस्टेंस। एक्चुअल डिस्टेंस कितना ट्रैवल कर रहा है 100 मीटर, isn't it? What is the speed?
10.
10. So what is the time?
10.
माने डिस्टेंस बाय स्पीड मतलब 10 सेकंड। ठीक है, अब वही चीज को हम लोग और माने ये वाला क्लास 8 का अप्रोच है। अब उसको और सोफिस्टिकेटेड में करने के लिए व्हाट वी कैन डू इज इसका हम लोग दो कंपोनेंट ले लेते हैं। ठीक है, तो ये वाला दिस इज 30 डिग्री वाले ये वाला कंपोनेंट क्या होगा 5। ठीक है, तो मतलब ये अगर 10 सेकंड्स में इफ यू आर डूइंग इट विद दिस पार्ट रिजल्टेंट से देखो सेम टाइम इट इज इंडिकेटिंग टुवर्ड्स द सेम टाइम, माने ये अगर 10 सेकंड्स में
Same time indicates same time.
नहीं माने ऑल दीस थिंग्स आर इंडिकेटिंग टुवर्ड्स द सेम टाइम, माने ये जो 10 सेकंड्स कवर हुआ ये 10 सेकंड्स में बेसिकली 3 थिंग्स यू कैन डील विद। वन इज रिजल्टेंट वेलोसिटी से ये इस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है, दिस इज वन पार्ट। v sin थीटा से इस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है, दिस इज वन पार्ट। एंड v cos थीटा से इस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है। ऑल दीस आर हैपनिंग इन द सेम टाइम फ्रेम, isn't it? सेम टाइम में तो ये सारा चीज हो रहा है, तो इसलिए हम लोग कोई भी पार्ट से टाइम का इंफॉर्मेशन आई कैन रिट्रीव। ये सेम टाइम में तो सब कुछ हो रहा है। अब लाइक दिस वाज अ माने ओवरऑल चीज, लेकिन दिस इज सम इन डेप्थ चीज जो हम लोग को कंपोनेंट का इंफॉर्मेशन से मिल जाएगा। हम लोग अगर दोनों अलग सा कंपोनेंट्स पता चलेगा तो 10 सेकंड्स में अगर क्लास 8 का सम रहता तो 10 सेकंड्स में आई कैन यूज द डिस्टेंस बाय स्पीड, तो 10 सेकंड्स मिल गया। नाउ व्हाट आई कैन डू इज हम लोग को उतना कुछ नहीं चाहिए, हम लोग को खाली चाहिए कि ऑपोजिट बैंक में उसका जाने का टारगेट है। ठीक है, तो ऑपोजिट बैंक में जाने के लिए कौन सा वेलोसिटी उसे हेल्प कर रहा है, कौन सा वेलोसिटी बेसिकली v sin थीटा और ऑपोजिट बैंक का डिस्टेंस क्या है d, तो बेसिकली डायरेक्टली वी कैन डू d by bs sin थीटा।
ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, अंदर पता
नहीं ज्यादा
करना पड़ेगा।
कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है नहीं, क्योंकि अभी तो एक्चुअली ये 100 मीटर्स दिया नहीं जाएगा, तो अभी क्या करना पड़ेगा कि यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट दिस 100 मीटर्स, देन यू कैन फाइंड आउट यूजिंग द रिजल्टेंट। तुम्हें तो अलग से देगा एंड माने रिवर का भी वेलोसिटी दे देगा ना, माने वंस यू स्टार्ट डूइंग एक्चुअल न्यूमेरिकल्स फ्रॉम योर एक्सरसाइज यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इट बेटर। इतना समझ में आया है
हाँ सर।
कि सेम चीज तीनों चीज एक साथ हो रहा है और कोई भी पार्ट से आई कैन रिट्रीव द इंफॉर्मेशन। प्रोजेक्टाइल में भी सेम टाइप ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट्स वी आर गोइंग टू यूज। ठीक है,
हाँ तो एक दिन में गायब हो जाएगा।
अच्छा ये वाला क्या दिए थे 10 ना, और ये वाला 50 डिग्री। नाउ इफ आई कंसीडर दैट देयर इज अ रिवर वेलोसिटी ऑफ 5 मीटर पर सेकंड।
बंद कर दीजिए ना फैन प्लीज।
Now if we consider कि ये वाला शायद ठीक है कुछ तो समझ में आएगा, बाकी ऐसे भी मेरे बताना ही पड़ेगा। ये प्रॉब्लम है सब रिजोल्यूशन में मैक्सिमम ये एट अ स्टेज एक वीडियो फाइल 4 GB तक लिख सकता है।